Hey, Next Gen Millionaires, what's up? I'm back. If some of you noticed, I've taken the last couple of weeks off because it was the end of the year, but now I'm back and live streaming once again to you once a week, um, and some other fun stuff this year that I'll talk about later, not today. But just some fun stuff for 2022, like just trying to figure out like what kind of content I want to produce and that fun stuff. But the live streams once a week are definitely still going to happen. Um, And yeah, so welcome today. For those who don't know me, I'm Joe Burns. I'm the Money Master, and we're talking about all things money EQ. And for those who don't know what money EQ is, if you think IQ, think of budgets, financial advice, investing. That's not me. I'm really more interested in how money makes you feel, how you interact with it, the sometimes trauma that's attached to it, and overall, like what kind of relationship can we have with money? Um, So that's what you're going to find here in everything that I do. So if you're new to watching my live streams, that's just a little bit about myself. But yeah, so this week is actually quite interesting. And as you see in the title, it's like even Elon Musk has money meltdown. So back like the beginning of December, maybe it's the end of November, I don't remember. Back the end of last year, I put out a tool you can go download at peaceinprosperity.com, but it's the Stop the Money Meltdown guide. Give you 5 steps on how you can stop your money meltdowns. Now, if you go back to if you're subscribed to my newsletter or you watch my YouTube videos, back in the middle of December, I talked about like what meltdowns could look like because people kept asking like or telling me, "Hey Joe, I'm not having meltdowns." Um, so I don't know if this tool's for me, and I'm like, "Okay, let's talk," because we're really having meltdowns even though we don't know about it. And so if that's the thing, go back to like the middle of December, and there's one in there about meltdowns, what that looks like. So if you don't think this is for you, I would double check because most of us are really having meltdowns. We don't even realize it. We really don't. We've learned to cope with what those symptoms look like because honestly, back like I talked then, it's just funny how it all comes around, right? Is that honestly, a lot of us think meltdowns, we think like negative connotations, like the kid in the grocery store or someone misbehaving in a way that is maybe a tired child. Like, and we don't want to equate ourselves to them. Well, that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like how we're not living in alignment with ourselves and how like those little money meltdowns erode at that confidence and and just kind of us being us. Okay, the authenticity of us being us. And it starts to erode at it. It starts to wear down at it. So as we're having the meltdowns, it's important to catch them. Hence why the tool is if you go download and get it. For those who are using it, it's really a daily thing. Like I would encourage you to incorporate it in your daily morning routines. It's that important because as we do that, we're going to find greater joy in the relationship with ourselves that we're building. And really, as we start to understand money more, we're going to start repairing that relationship that's probably not very good because for a lot of people, it's not. So let's hop into today. Really, the piece I want to talk about Elon Musk. Like, it's hard not to know who this man is, right? And this dude has a lot of money. Um, and so people will be like, "Well, Joe, he has a lot of money, so how can he have meltdowns? Like, he doesn't have any cause for concern." And that's the fallacy. That's the piece that people always get wrong. Okay, so like, just because you have money doesn't mean you don't have issues. Okay, let's just put that out there. Money will tend to mask the issues a little bit, right? It can sometimes amplify the issues even more. It does lots of weird, strange things, right? And I always think of money like gasoline on a fire. That fire on the inside of us, of the things that are already happening, it accentuates, right? It just amplifies, it makes bigger. So when I look at people like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, like people with like crazy amounts of wealth, I like to see how they show up in the media. Now, the media is going to portray them one way or another. So I try to catch lots of little bits of them so I can understand like they're great use cases. I'm just going to say it, right? There's great use cases in looking at how are they interacting with the world? How are they interacting with these relationships, money, especially when you have so much of it, right? For some of them, it's a second thought at times, but there are little things that they talk about and how they show up that are very interesting. So let's talk about Elon Musk. So Elon Musk, for those who maybe not know him, like he's got a lot of money, right? And his current projects are Tesla, SpaceX, and he's really passionate about these things. And he's put like really a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into these projects that have turned out to be really profitable companies and changing the world in different ways, right? But I was watching an interview, and I don't remember where it was, and I don't know who it was with. I caught it on, it was either YouTube Shorts, right, or TikTok or something like that. It was like just a little clip of a video, so that kind of format. It could have been Instagram Reels, who knows? But it was one of those, right? Because all the social media platforms are doing all the same thing, so you catch it somewhere, right? So for as I was watching, and the interviewer, right, it was a lady, and unfortunately, I don't know who it was. She asked him, she's like, "So how much of your own money have you put into Tesla?" And you look, and if you watch and look at Elon's facial expressions and he kind of him haws around a little bit because he's not proud about how much he had to put into the company, right? And she kind of presses him a little bit, and he's like, "Well, I put $55 million into it of his own money," you know. And that little bit of the clip, and that's what I really want to talk about. Like, you can see that he wasn't happy about it. I think she goes on to talk about, like, is that as much as you thought you had to put in? And I think he said it was like double of what he really wanted to put in, or something like that. There was some amount he wanted to put in. It was well over what he wanted to invest into this company. But his dream was such that he, like, yeah, if you've watched Elon Musk at all, like, he's just relentless in getting what he wants. And so he's just like, no, I put it in, and I kept going, and if you look at it now, like, it's paying off big for him, right? If you look at yourself and say, hey, I have to make a $55 million investment, which feels like a ton of money, but if that's going to pay out billions in the end, would you not do that? Right? That feels like a smart investment overall. But that wasn't the mindset he went into it with. He could have lost everything, right? All the two projects could have completely flopped, and he could have ended up with nothing. They could have lost money to the point where he wasn't going to make anything, right? It was a big gamble on his side. So when we look at the money side, right, and look at Elon, like, he was not happy, right? So when I talk about meltdowns, even he has meltdowns. Like, he has a ton of money, but you could see on your face that he had a second think, that he's like, maybe I made it. Maybe, like, back then, right, when he was doing that, maybe he made a bad investment. Maybe he made a bad choice. He wasn't sure at the time, because he had infused his company with so much of his personal cash. Some people probably thought he was crazy. So when we look at money meltdowns, when we look at these things, more money doesn't make the problem go away. Even Elon Musk has money meltdowns. He's learned to cope with how that money makes him feel, and compartmentalize and deal with the trauma that's associated with, and all that fun stuff, like all those things. But he still has them. So if I pose the question this way, if it doesn't matter the amount of money we have, we still have money meltdowns, then what can we do to get rid of them? Can we ever get rid of them? Maybe, maybe not. I'm still working on mine. What I do know is that the guide I've given to you will tremendously help in kind of amplifying the good things you want to have happen, and decreasing the amplification of the things you don't want to have happen. If you look at it again and just accept that we're all going to have meltdowns, it's going to happen. What that looks like, how that feels. Again, like I said, I referenced that back about a month ago. But the sooner we can accept that and just understand it and catch them when they happen, that's the other part that I think that's really important, that we catch them when they happen, instead of feel bad for ourselves, right? And be like, oh, I don't know, I put a lot of money into that. I don't know if it was a smart idea. Oh, this is going to cost me a lot. I don't know if that's a good idea. Oh, I don't know if I should invest in this service for my company because I'm not sure. Right? There's a lot of unsures. And the problem is that's where the meltdown starts. When we become unsure, when we become less confident in our choices. And the problem is, then we try to push through that until we come with an answer or a way to get past it. And most of the time, we feel so much anxiety behind, like the challenge of having to pick one or another. We just pick one, and it's usually the one of least resistance, which is usually the one that isn't going to be spending money, and it's probably not going to get us to where we want to go. There's an investment you have to make within your business. It happens all the time. The question is, why are we making certain investments and not other ones? Why are we not showing up how we want to sometimes, and other times we are? Right. So I hope you can see, like, this is kind of that next level of what I talked about a month ago. It's just really looking and be like, hey, we're all having these meltdowns. Really, what do they look like for us? How are they showing up? When do they start? When do they end? Are these things you're paying attention to? I hope so. Because when we can understand our behaviors, then we can start to change them rapidly, and we can have different results. We don't have to wait a long time to change something. We don't have to learn a lesson. That's old school mentality, and that stuff sucks. Like, just don't think like that's just broken psychology. So what we got to look at is, when do they, like I said, when do they start? What are my triggers? What's happening? Like, start looking at some of this stuff. It's not comfortable to look at it. It sucks. But I promise you, this year, if you want something different than last year, right? As we start to look at our numbers and do our taxes and close out last year, right? And our accountants, our bookkeepers are closing out our end of year and month end for December. How do we feel? Did we get even close to where we wanted to be? Because I promise you that these little meltdowns are draining you of energy, and they're sucking your life out of, like, the fullness that it could be. So a little bit of reflection this week as we start this new year, as we get into it and think about, like, hey, what's happening? Just think about it. Because again, if Elon Musk is having them and he's still as successful as he is, right? Can't you too? But it's how we control it, how we manage it, how we're dealing with them. That's the most important. And if we're aware of it, then we start making the different decisions. And that's what I hope you do. Change one thing today, change one thing tomorrow. Doesn't have to be massive change overnight. And maybe that change could be, hey, listen, I'm going to start tracking this. That's a change. Do something different. Because when you do something different, you're going to get different results. So that's it for this week. Just want to kind of share with you some insights I had as I saw that interview with Elon Musk, and just like, hey, this dude's having the meltdowns like everybody else. Like, nobody's exempt. No amount of money makes you exempt from this. So let's start with the mindset now. So as we grow our businesses, it's not a stumbling block, right? It could be one now, but it definitely will. The more money we make, it will become a bigger one. So let's not let it be there. Let's take care of it now and get going. So I hope you all have great goals for this year. I hope you all are just like started this year and fire and just like ready to rock and roll. There's a lot of possibility and opportunity out there. So let's go get it. If you have any questions, as always, drop them in the comments, and I'll come back and answer them. So until next week, we'll catch you later. Bye.